Trump's big, beautiful bill just passed the Senate after a long 27-hour meeting. You might be wondering, what does this mean for me? Is it good, bad, or just confusing? Honestly, it's a mix of all three. And there's something later in this video that might really surprise you, especially if you're a senior on Medicaid, if you have kids, or if you work in a job where you rely on tips. So stay with me. Understanding this bill could actually help you plan your life better, this year and even for the next 10 years. Before we get into it, tell me in the comments, what part of this bill worries you the most? Is it healthcare, taxes, or something else? I'd love to know. And if you find this kind of simple financial breakdown useful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my next video. Alright, here's what just happened. The Senate has passed President Trump's huge tax and spending bill, his main project this term. People are calling it one big, beautiful bill. And honestly, that's not just a fancy name. This thing is massive. It's over 900 pages, and it affects almost everyone in some way. Whether that's good or bad depends on your own life situation. Let's start with the parts that help working people, because that's what many are talking about. For example, if you work in the service industry, like a restaurant, salon, or hotel, you can now deduct up to $25,000 of your tip income when filing your taxes. That's big. I know lots of people who work really hard, even double shifts, but taxes still take away a big chunk of their money. This change will help them. But here's the thing. If you make more than $150,000 a year, or $300,000 as a couple, this benefit starts to shrink. So, it's mostly aimed at low to middle-income workers. There's also a new deduction for overtime pay. So if you're working extra hours, you can keep more of that money when tax time comes. People have been asking for this for years, especially now that prices are so high and everyone's trying to make their money go further. Good news for seniors, too. If you're 65 or older, you can now get a $6,000 extra deduction. The House originally planned just $4,000, so this is a bit better. This deduction starts going away if you make over $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a couple. But still, for seniors living on a fixed income, every little bit helps. Now, let's talk about families with kids. If you have a child born between 2024 and 2028, they can get something called a Trump account. It's like a savings account started by the government with $1,000 already in it. The money will grow over time in a stock market fund. You can't spend this money right now. It's meant to help the child in the future. And the best part is, you don't need to apply for it. It's automatic. What about car loans? The bill adds a tax deduction for interest on U.S. assembled auto loans. It's limited to $10,000 and doesn't cover every loan. But if you bought a car recently, it's worth double-checking your paperwork when you file your taxes. So, all of this sounds pretty good so far, right? And this is a big, but there's a serious trade-off. To make space for all these tax cuts, the bill reduces government spending, and not just a little bit. The cuts are deep, especially programs like Medicaid and SNAP, food stamps. Let's start with Medicaid. The bill adds a new federal work rule for adults between ages 19 and 64 who are not disabled. You now have to prove you work, volunteer, or are in training for at least 80 hours a month. Also, unless you have a child under 14, being a parent no longer automatically exempts you. That's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. There's also a change in paperwork. Instead of checking eligibility once a year, it will now happen every 6 months. This sounds like a small change, but really it means more forms, more deadlines, and more chances to lose your coverage just for missing paperwork. All these changes combined mean that about 8 million people could lose Medicaid by 2034, according to Congressional Budget Office. SNAP is changing too. Similar work rules will apply, but with an extra challenge. If a state makes too many mistakes in giving out benefits, that state now has to pay part of the cost themselves. Poorer states will feel this the most. Also, around 600,000 low-income families could see their food help drop by about $100 per month. So basically, the bill gives tax breaks with one hand, but takes away government help with the other. Depending on your situation, you might get a small tax break, but lose much more in health care or food support. Now, let's talk about energy. This part has really stirred people up. The bill almost completely removes clean energy tax credits that were passed during the Biden years. This includes benefits for electric cars, solar panels, heat pumps. Basically, all those ads you see about home energy upgrades. Those credits are either gone or ending soon. So what's coming instead? New tax breaks for fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas. Taxes on fossil fuels are being cut, and coal companies, especially those in the U.S., will now get tax benefits if you work in energy or live in places like Texas or West Virginia. This might feel like things are going back to how they used to be, but for clean energy companies and startups, this is a huge setback. Here's something unexpected I found in the bill: space spending. Yes, space. The bill gives $10 billion for planning future Mars missions. Another $325 million is set aside to help safely bring down the International Space Station, plus $85 million to move a space shuttle from Virginia to Texas. That last one caused some jokes online, but space exploration is part of the defense budget, which is getting a lot of money in this bill. The defense part also includes $29 billion for shipbuilding and $25 billion for missile defense. And the immigration section? Huge spending there too. $46.5 billion is going to expand the border wall and add more high-tech security. Another $45 billion is going to build more detention centers, and $30 billion will help train more ICE agents. Also, there's now a $100 fee for people applying for asylum. So, while the tax cuts are getting most of the attention, this bill is really pumping up military and immigration spending. That clearly shows where this administration's priorities are. But here's something a lot of people are still trying to figure out: the cost. The Congressional Budget Office says this bill will add about $3.3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. Some say it could actually reach $5.3 trillion when you include extra costs and interest. Supporters of the bill say it's worth it. They believe it will boost the economy, make the country stronger in energy, and improve national security. But critics say the bill mostly helps the rich and cuts support for the poor. The numbers show that households making more than $217,000 a year will get the biggest tax cuts, about $12,500 on average. Families making less than $35,000 will only see about $150 in savings. That's a big gap. Even though this may sound tough, it's important to know this information so you can plan better. One last thing before I finish. The bill still has to pass one more step. The House of Representatives needs to approve the Senate's version. If they agree with no changes, the bill will go straight to President Trump's desk, maybe even before July 4th. But if the House makes changes, the Senate will have to meet again, and with lawmakers heading home for the holiday, that could slow everything down. So, what does this mean for you right now? If you're a senior, look into that new deduction. If you work for tips, make sure to keep records of your tips this year. If you're on Medicaid or SNAP, stay alert for changes in your state's rules. And if you're thinking about buying solar panels or an electric car, maybe wait a bit to see what happens in the final version of the bill.